from today's TMJ4.
This is breaking news now.
That breaking news report of a young teen shot in the Walworth County village of Sharon. We've got Chopper 4 over an area just off of Highway K, northeast of town.
Yeah, a lot of police presence at the scene here. Tom Murray is there and he's talking to people, and he joins us live by phone right now. Hi, Tom.
Courtney, Steve, good afternoon. I just spoke with Walworth County Under Sheriff Kurt Bicknell about a minute ago, and he said what happened out here, you had two young men, two boys, out in the cornfield area, out in the wooded area behind this farmhouse, and one of the boys suffered a gunshot wound and is hospitalized right now. What investigators are trying to piece together is how that gun went off and how these two boys were involved. I can tell you that Sheriff David Graves from Walworth County is here, as well as many other of the top brass from the Walworth County Sheriff's Office. They are working this as an active scene right now. There are people from the Sheriff's Office who are in the family's home on this property right now, and they are also about 200, 300 yards away in that cornfield wooded area where this gun went off. So again, at this point, we know that one boy suffered a gunshot wound. Authorities are not giving us an age at this point, and they are speaking with the other boy, trying to piece together exactly what went on. And at this point, we do not have word on the condition of the young man who suffered that gunshot wound.
Tom, I wonder if you can give us a little bit of a clarification here on where this gun was. We say there were two boys here. Did one of them have the gun, or did the shot come from elsewhere?
That's what the authorities are trying to piece together right now. Who was holding the firearm, where that firearm went off. It appears that the two young men were, I'm not sure what you're looking at right now from Chopper 4. There is the wooded cornfield area that's about 300 yards from the house. That's where it appears this all took place. And at this point, the investigators are trying to piece together who had that gun and how it went off.
Tom, do one of the boys live in that farmhouse? Is this their property, or were they just playing on someone else's land? Do you know that?
Well, we have been told that there are family members who are in the house, which is about 300 yards away from where this occurred. So that would lead us to believe that at least one of the young men involved lives at the home. Briefly, we saw what appeared to be family members come out of the home. We were told that they're very distraught, very upset about what's gone on. But we don't know if it's one or both boys who live at the home. As I'm guessing you're seeing from Chopper 4 right now, this is a very rural area where the homes are spread far apart. And so it's not like there's a lot of neighbors that would be right across the street or next door.
And do you know where that young man was injured, where he was hit?
I am not sure right now where the injury was suffered.
All right, Tom Murray, we're going to let you get back to work and get some more information there on the ground in Walworth County. Again, we do have a report that a teenager has been shot. The source of that gunshot, though, still under investigation. Tom, we'll get back with you a little bit later on in the broadcast. Also on Live at 3 today, firefighters are looking for answers in a burned-out home.
Questions remain after fire quickly took out that house last night.
Including how was a house only 2 blocks away from the fire station burned so badly? Yona Gavino takes a closer look.
Firefighters are trained to respond at a moment's notice. So when the South Milwaukee Fire Department got the call, they rushed to the scene.
You can see on this map, it's a short drive from the fire department to the house, about 2 blocks away. They should have been able to save the home.
So why does the house look this bad?
Fire Chief Joseph Knitter wants to know, how did the fire get this out of control this fast? It took firefighters less than a minute to get to the scene at 829 Marquette Avenue.
Since the proximity of the house is only 2 blocks from the firehouse, it's very unusual for us to have that much fire involvement within 34 seconds of our dispatch and arrival times.
I asked him if there was a delay in calling the fire department.
That's something we're going to attempt to determine today.
Right now, he's still trying to figure out if the fire was suspicious. Still, this neighbor who watched from his front lawn says something didn't add up about what he saw.
Well, just the front part first. That's why it looks suspicious, because the front part was just burning. A lot of smoke. Boy, it was dark and hot. You could feel the heat way over here.
Red Cross is helping the 2 adults and 3 kids who are inside the home. Yona Gavino, today's TMJ4.
Now, the cause of this fire is under investigation. The state fire marshal's office assisting in that. Now, the address is not new to authorities. South Milwaukee police have responded to this location 12 times since January of 2012. Most of those, we are told, are minor complaints.
Further north in Milwaukee, fire investigators looking at a house fire near 17th and Mitchell. It started just before 3:30 this morning. Investigators say no one was home when that fire broke out in the split level. More local news now. The Washington County man accused of murdering a classmate was in court today. It's been a year since the crime, but still no trial. Prosecutors blame Daniel Bartelt for the gruesome murder of his former classmate and friend, Jesse Blodgett. She was found bound and strangled last summer. Bartelt first told investigators he had nothing to do with it. Police arrested him several days later. That case expected to go to trial next month.
And to make sure that they understand that what they hear or see outside the courtroom is not evidence.
Today's hearing was about the judge setting guidelines for the jury, and potential jurors are being told the trial will last 2 weeks.
An update in the Slender Man stabbing case. A judge ruling Morgan Geyser does not need to undergo an insanity evaluation. The 12-year-old defendant's attorney objected, claiming that would violate her right to remain silent. Still unclear if Geyser will be tried as an adult. Both suspects due back in court next month. President Obama in the border state of Texas for a roundtable discussion on the border crisis.
The president met Republican Governor Rick Perry at the airport for a handshake. The possible GOP presidential candidate has been critical of the president. The White House wants nearly $4 billion from Congress to deal with the border crisis. Wisconsin senator weighed in this morning.
The number one way of securing our border is stop incentivizing people to come to our country illegally. That's what we're doing right now.
More than 50,000 children have arrived at the border since October.
And we begin our team coverage on the border crisis with Steve Handelsman live from Washington, D.C.
Steve, first, how's Congress reacting to that request for $4 billion?
Well, it's a mixed reaction, Steve and Courtney. They're not sure what they want to do on this. Republicans are focused on the border. You heard that Wisconsin Democrat talk about how the Obama focus, generally the Democrats' focus, is not strictly on the border, though there is a kind of a mutual focus now on whether the president ought to visit the border. Whether he goes down to the Texas-Mexico frontier or not going to solve this crisis. But critics of the president, and there are critics on both sides of the aisle here on Capitol Hill, say it would get him more engaged, even though he's still refusing.
On his way to Texas and the border crisis in Colorado, President Obama spoke just 17 seconds on immigration, blaming Congress for not passing reforms.
These guys still can't get their act together.
Mr. Obama relaxed last night and has no plans today to visit the border, the scene of the immigration surge. Bad plan, said a Texas Democrat.
When you're so close and you can't even take Air Force One to go down to the border.
Laredo, Texas is swamped by Central American kids and moms. What to do has the nation divided. League City, Texas voted not to house detainees.
What do we want? Justice!
Some there protested that. In Central America, racked by crime and poverty, the Obama Secretary of Homeland Security warned the kids who come to the U.S. cannot stay.
They must be returned home.
In fact, many are staying for months, some freed into U.S. communities. Back in Washington, Republicans charge that's sending the wrong message.
They're getting an impression in their countries that once they get here, they can stay.
President Obama wants $1.8 billion to better house the new immigrants, just $1.6 billion to try to keep them out. Focus more on that said Republican leaders.
If we don't secure the border, nothing's going to change.
No let up in the human surge or the political impasse. And no relenting, at least so far, on the Texas travel plans of President Obama, who Stephen Courtney, whose aides worry would look awkward now if he did go down to the border.
Yeah, this is a political firestorm. Do you have any idea about the next steps for the president? Not touring the border, but what he's going to do next in all of this.
You know, I think what happens today is going to say a lot, because he's going to go face to face with Rick Perry, the governor of Texas, who may run as a Republican presidential wannabe for 2016, like he did last time, has been vociferous in his criticism of the president. Perry said he didn't want just a runway shake and howdy with the president. He wanted to have a real sit down, and how each of the two men spin their encounter, what they gain or lose by that confrontation, I think is going to be the next political step in this, while the president hopes the next substantial step, if you will, is getting Congress to approve that money so he and they both agree on this, can put up a couple of ways to stop these kids from coming. More at the border and faster deportation of the kids who've come here illegally.
And we'll wait for word about what happened in that meeting today. Steve Handelsman in Washington, thanks. So what about those families sending their children north for hopes of a better life?
We continue our coverage with Gadi Schwartz. He spoke with a family now in Mexico trying to escape the violence in Honduras.
If this were a perfect world, these kids and their mother Brenda could be a perfect case to be considered for asylum in the United States. Her husband, a security guard, was killed by gangs for trying to clean up his neighborhood last year.
When she arrived, she found her son Anthony with his father, and he was actually brushing away some of the blood and the debris that was on his face.
Because the gangs threatened to kill her and her children if they found her, she is terrified of Honduras, which legally means she could have a case to request asylum. But this family doesn't have the money for a lawyer. They don't even have enough money to make it any further than the Guatemalan-Mexico border. Instead, she is stuck in limbo as her children seem to grow more numb to the violence around them. After listening to his mother talk, her oldest son Jefferson insisted we interview him as well. And at 10 years old, he rattled off family members and friends who have been killed by Honduran gangs. When we asked what he wanted to be when he grew up, and when I asked him if he would ever go back to Honduras, he said yes, to kill the men who killed his father. Brenda now worries her children will fall into the same type of violence that she is trying to escape.
And the wheels of justice turn slowly. Last year, the average immigration court case took 550 days before a decision was ever handed down.
Well, still to come today on Live at 3, the release of sex offenders into neighborhoods, always controversial.
But a case involving a female offender in Waukesha has people on edge. We're going to take on the issue in Sound Off.